She claims that she is a cat.
An adult baby. I was never allowed to be a little girl.
Drag queen performing in front of infants.
As Muslims living in the West, how can we safeguard ourselves from this? How can we stand up to this? Obviously, legally and also wisely. We live here. We're not going anywhere. I'm a Canadian citizen. I'm staying in Canada. I've shoveled snow and I've paid taxes. I ain't going nowhere.
He's got a point, nice Sarge.
Yeah, facts.
You're British.
I'm British. I haven't shoveled snow, but I have tolerated the rain day in, day out. And I've paid taxes. And I ain't going nowhere either.
Oh, yeah. I've been in London for 3 days, and I have seen the sun for a grand total of 20 minutes.
And this guy is very lucky.
It's terrible. I want to go home.
You ain't going nowhere.
So I feel as Muslims, we need to, number one, understand the environment we live in. We have to be honest. This is what's happening.
Don't bury your head in the sand, yeah.
Number two, is it because I'm Arab? You said sand?
I was hoping you weren't going to notice and I could just slide it in there.
Very, very well done, sir. Very well done.
I see what you did there.
Number two, investing in our Islamic education as adults and for our children.
Yeah. None of this just Saturday madrasa 1 day a week. No. Proper. Every day. Do it.
But would you think that's also, does that mean enrolling them in Islamic schools? Because I know there's the whole public versus private, Islamic school versus...
There's pros and cons. I'd say look at your area because unfortunately and sadly, some Muslim-owned schools, I don't want to generalize, and I'm not generalizing, but Muslims sometimes tend not to have spines in when it comes to leadership in schools. They're the first ones to kowtow to the LGBT thing. So if you are going to a Muslim school, make sure they have a spine. Make sure they're not spineless. Make sure they're not watering down the religion, because that will be worse for your child. Whilst if they go to a non-Muslim school, you can say that's their religion. Lakum dinukum waliya din. This is our religion. But when they go to a Muslim school and they see Muslims doing madness, then it's very difficult to differentiate. Because like, yeah, but they're Muslim. We're Muslim. Why are they doing that? Why can't we do that? It's more confusing for a child.
No, very good point. So I feel like we need to invest more as a community in our Islamic community, whether it's Islamic schools, community centers, etc.
Yeah.
We need to make sure that our children and the future generations have an Islamic environment as well they can grow up in, whereby they have Muslim friends who reflect those values as well. And finally, I think we also need to be very open with our children, because I know this is a big issue with the previous generations, where if someone says, "Dad, Mom, what is this?" and they ask you a question like, does God exist? Even like they might ask you that question, you're like, hey, don't ask these stupid questions. Yes, God exists. And they don't sit down and say, why do you have these questions? Where did this come from? Okay, let's talk about this. And then you have this conversation with them where you're educated enough to answer that question. And if you're not, there should be someone who is, but you're also there for them to converse and not just...
That's very important what you just said, being there for them. Now, if we're not there for them, the father's too busy working ridiculous shifts, the mum isn't available, she's watching dramas and, backbiting on the phone. You have to be involved with your kids, and the only way you can do that is by, like the brother said, being aware of what's going on and being able to communicate with your children. How? It's all predicated on you being available. No problem. Eat less, wear less, go out less. Make yourself available. Not putting food on the table. No, you're just paying for the internet that they're watching these people on YouTube transitioning.
Wow.
No one's home. That child is vegetating in front of the television. Or just hand him an iPad. A lot of these Dora the Explorer flipping, God knows, whatever it is, they're putting madness. They are putting madness into these shows that you don't even know. Oh, they're boring. The kids are just watching it. Those days are gone. That you could just leave your kids to vegetate in front of these things that are literally feeding our kids poison.
That's gross.
You have to give them time. You have to. Like, invest in them doing after school clubs or whatnot, rather than sitting at home vegetating, being social rejects. Because people that are socially inept and they'll come home and they watch this stuff. Oh, I feel more inclusive here. No one else understands me. These people understand me. Oh, they're all inclusive. I can be whatever I want to be. But sometimes that child just needs to be in certain environments and just kind of learn certain skills or certain ways of communicating with other people. But what you're now doing is you're forcing that these sorts of things. Oh, no contact with parents. like Jeffrey Marsh was putting across, no contact.
Is that even legal?
So rather than learning how to communicate with your parents and getting your point across, no contact, cut it off, mate. This sort of mentality is actually poisonous.
Come chat with me privately online over sexual matters, and
Mad.
that's a little creepy.
Mad.
And unfortunately, we are seeing the corruption of society. We're seeing the breakup and breakdown of the family unit, the nuclear family, and morality as we know it. There's no longer any form of objective form of morality or any morality at this point. And that is why so many people when they live in a society where there's almost nothing left, so much corruption, they look towards something that is consistent, constant, and firm on its values. And that is Islam.
Wow.
And that is why Islam, subhanAllah, has been attractive to so many people. Islam is the solution. And as Muslims, we shy away from that a lot, unfortunately.
Yes.
Which is why we need to educate ourselves on Islam. We need to educate ourselves on our religion. Be wise about the approach. Be smart. Be respectful to everyone. However, we need to stay firm on our values and stand up for what we believe in and what's right and what's for the benefit of society as a whole.
Now more than ever.
Very well said. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the Power Duo, That Muslim Guy.
Smile to Jannah.
Salam. Peace.
Wa alaikum assalam.